The film opens with our main character, an ordinary man, with an extraordinary belief. By day, he works a couple of modest jobs to make ends meet, but when the sun sets, his true passion takes over. He becomes a YouTuber and blogger, pouring his thoughts about the stock market onto the screen with an intensity few understand. In his videos, he speaks about a company called GameStop, a once thriving business that sold computer parts and video games across countless cities and malls. But times had changed. People now preferred to buy everything online. Slowly, GameStop's branches emptied out, its value crumbled, and its shares plummeted. Financial experts across the world declared GameStop a sinking ship, a company on the verge of collapse. So, the giants of Wall Street decided to strike. They began shorting GameStop's stock. This meant that massive investors borrowed shares from shareholders, sold them at high prices, and waited. As the stock's price fell due to heavy selling, they would buy back those same shares at much lower prices, return them to the original owners, and pocket the difference as profit. It was a system designed to profit from another's downfall, and to push a struggling company into the abyss. When a company like GameStop goes bankrupt, another rises from its ashes. This cold, calculated process, shorting, was now being unleashed upon GameStop. But there was one man who saw something no one else did. Keith. While the world laughed at GameStop, Keith believed in it. He noticed something that others ignored, a shift in the company's leadership. A wealthy businessman had quietly purchased a large portion of GameStop's equity. Keith saw potential in this move, a spark of revival hidden beneath the rubble. With conviction blazing in his eyes, Keith told his viewers, GameStop isn't as worthless as they think. People just don't know its true value. He warned that the massive investors shorting the stock were walking into a trap, because when the price of GameStop eventually rose, their losses would be catastrophic. Driven by this unshakable faith, Keith made a daring choice. He invested his and his wife's entire life savings into GameStop shares. Not only that, he bought options, risky investments that could multiply profits or destroy everything in an instant. If the stock fell, he'd lose everything, but if it rose, he'd make millions. He shared every detail, every investment, every analysis, every chart, through his blogs and live streams. In one of his early screenshots, he revealed he had invested over $53,000 in GameStop. His wife, though loving and supportive, couldn't hide her fear. She worried her husband's dream might cost them everything. Yet she stood by him. Keith's younger brother, struggling with financial troubles of his own, was inspired by him. Encouraged by Keith's conviction, he too invested in GameStop, hoping to change his fate. The story shifts to Gabe Plotkin, a powerful hedge fund manager, one of Wall Street's titans. Gabe controlled billions through his investment firm, handling the fortunes of the wealthy elite. And no company had shorted GameStop more aggressively than his. When Gabe learned that a small-time YouTuber like Keith had poured his life savings into GameStop, he laughed it off. A fool, he thought. Then we meet Ken Griffin, another financial heavyweight who ran a massive marketing and trading company. Alongside them stood Steve Cohen, the market's most feared investor, a man who believed the entire stock market moved at his command. Despite a world crippled by COVID, businesses failing, economies collapsing, these three men were still making unimaginable profits. But on the other side of this divide stood the small investors, the everyday people. We meet a nurse, a single mother working tirelessly through the pandemic. Her income barely kept her household alive. She was drowning in home loans, terrified her house might be taken from her. One evening, she stumbled upon Keith's videos. His faith gave her hope. She decided to follow him, to invest in GameStop, praying it could save her home. Then, a GameStop employee appears. A young man exhausted by his low-paying job and constant humiliation from his boss. He understood the stock market, but he lacked capital. When he saw the company's leadership changing, he too followed Keith's lead. For him, it wasn't just about profit. It was about rebellion, about standing against a system where the rich manipulated markets while the poor were left in ruins. We also meet two college roommates, burdened by crushing student loans. Desperate to escape debt, they decided to invest in GameStop after watching Keith's videos, dreaming of financial freedom. All these ordinary people invested through an app called Robinhood, an easy-to-use, no-commission platform that allowed anyone to trade. Robinhood's founders proudly called it the app for the people. But when a journalist asked if anyone else funded Robinhood, one co-founder accidentally mentioned Ken's company, only for the other to quickly interrupt, denying any connection. As days passed, more and more small investors joined the movement, all inspired by Keith. They discussed stocks on a wild online community called WSP, a chaotic yet passionate forum where millions gathered to mock Wall Street's arrogance. Most members of WSP still burned with anger from the 2008 financial crisis, when banks and big investors were bailed out while ordinary people lost everything. They believed the entire market was rigged by the powerful. Now, Keith became their symbol. a man challenging the giants. Together, they decided to fight back. If the rich were shorting GameStop, they would buy it and keep buying until the system broke. And then, it happened. GameStop's stock began to rise, slowly at first, then like wildfire. A stock once worth $1 or $2 shot up to $50, then $100 overnight. Those who had shorted the stock, like Gabe, started losing billions. Keith's $53,000 investment turned into millions. He shared screenshots daily, and the WSP community exploded with excitement. Keith became a hero, a legend. The nurse, the students, the GameStop worker, their small investments now gave them new life. They could finally pay off debts, chase dreams, and breathe again. But Gabe still refused to believe it would last. Convinced it was a temporary bubble, he shorted the stock again. This time, the result was disastrous. GameStop's value skyrocketed from $100 to $200, then $400. Gabe's empire began to crumble. His company was now on the brink of bankruptcy. The market had turned against him. He was trapped in a short squeeze, forced to buy back shares at soaring prices to cover his losses. Panic erupted on Wall Street. GameStop dominated every headline. The rich were desperate, but the WSP community, led by Keith, refused to sell. In Gabe's office, chaos reigned. Phones rang nonstop. Analysts shouted. Traders panicked. Gabe's wife begged him to seek help. So, he turned to Ken and Steve, his powerful allies. Together, they poured $2 billion into his fund to keep it alive. Meanwhile, over at Robinhood, the situation took a darker turn. The app's co-founders received a call from the NSCC, demanding a staggering $3 billion deposit due to the unprecedented trading frenzy. Without it, Robinhood would be shut down. Desperate, they turned to Ken for help. And soon after, Robinhood made a shocking decision. They disabled the buy button for GameStop. Overnight, people could no longer buy, only sell. The market collapsed. GameStop's price crashed from $453 to $140. Investors were furious. Protests erupted outside Robinhood's offices. Small investors accused Robinhood of betraying them, claiming it acted under Ken's influence, who had stakes in both Citadel and Robinhood. Robinhood's founders appeared on TV, insisting they were innocent, that they halted trading only because of the NSCC's massive deposit demand. Some believed them, but many did not. The people felt cheated, once again, victims of the system. As public outrage grew, Keith went silent. No posts, no videos, no explanations. Then, one day, he returned. In a quiet video filmed in his basement, Keith said he had bought more shares after the crash. He still believed in GameStop. That single act reignited the movement. People rallied behind him once more. Soon, GameStop's value began to rise again. The battle reached the U.S. Congress, where a hearing was called to investigate the chaos. On live television, Keith, Robinhood's co-founder Gabe, and Ken were questioned by a panel of judges and financial experts. Keith appeared from his small basement, calm and unshaken. "I did nothing wrong," he said firmly. "I simply shared my analysis. I believe in GameStop. I'm not a hedge fund. I'm just an ordinary guy investing my own money." Gabe admitted he had underestimated the company, but defended shorting as just a business model. Ken claimed no involvement with GameStop and denied influencing Robinhood. Robinhood's founder insisted they had no choice, that the NSCC's demand forced their hand. Though no verdict was announced, the world saw the truth. Citadel and Robinhood weren't punished, but their reputations were shattered, and secretly, it was revealed that Ken and his allies, who controlled nearly 73% of the market, had quietly profited from the GameStop surge. Gabe's firm collapsed. Billions lost. Keith faced investigations but emerged a legend. He stopped uploading videos after April 16, 2021. His final live stream at 4 p.m. His last screenshot showed his net worth, $29 million. The film ends with the revelation. It was all based on a true story. Keith's courage had sparked a movement. Even after he disappeared, his legacy lived on. Communities across the internet continued to track hedge funds, exposing short-selling schemes, protecting small investors from corporate greed. The screen fades to black, but the spirit of resistance remains. An ordinary man who challenged the titans of Wall Street and won.